Hi, I'm Al Kresta, and of course people still talking about the Pope's encyclical, Laudato Si. I don't know how many people are actually reading it, but we've provided a really fine summary of the encyclical over at AveMariaRadio.net by Joe Carter. It's a good summary. I suggest you take a look at it. Also, I wanted to mention a few other things. We've got some political, economic, scientific analysis there as well. But by now, I have grown tired, and maybe you've grown tired too, of all the political, economic, and scientific debate that's been going on around the encyclical. It's necessary, and it's a good thing, but it takes our attention away from the core of the encyclical, the teaching on faith and morals that Pope Francis has embedded very clearly in certain portions of Laudato Si. Let me point out, though, that while specific scientific and economic points can be debated, since they are prudential judgments of the Pope, the doctrines surrounding them are truths of faith, and they are binding on the consciences of believers. So what do you say we get on to focus on those aspects of the encyclical, which really are non-controversial at all? First of all, the encyclical is absolutely clear that creation is the fundamental truth behind environmental concern. Let me read from it. A spirituality which forgets God as all-powerful creator is not acceptable. That is how we end up worshiping earthly powers or ourselves, usurping the place of God, even to the point of claiming an unlimited right to trample his creation underfoot. That's paragraph 75. And in 77, by the word of the Lord the heavens were made, Psalm 33, verse 6. And that simply tells us that the world came about as the result of a decision, not from chaos or chance, and this exalts it all the more. There's no doubt that creation is the fundamental presupposition of this encyclical. The second great theological point is that God created us male and female in his image. Pope Francis teaches complementarity between man and woman, not a strict functional egalitarianism. Let me read again. The acceptance of our bodies as God's gift is vital for welcoming and accepting the entire world as a gift from the Father and our common home. Whereas thinking that we simply have absolute power over our own bodies turns, often subtly, into thinking that we enjoy absolute power over creation. Learning to accept our body, to care for it, and to respect its fullest meaning is an essential element of any genuine human ecology. So again, it's not only creation of the universe, creation of the world, creation of nature, it's creation of the human person in God's image, male and female. Another important theological point, which again undergirds the entire analysis, is that abortion destroys our sensitivity to life. And if we aren't able to protect human life, we're not going to protect non-human life. I'll read again. It's troubling that when some ecological movements defend the integrity of the environment, rightly demanding that certain limits be imposed on scientific research, they sometimes fail to apply those same principles to human life. There is a tendency to justify transgressing all boundaries when experimentation is carried out on living human embryos. We forget that the inalienable worth of a human being transcends his or her degree of development. In the same way, when technology disregards the great ethical principles, it ends up considering any practice whatsoever as licit. Might makes right. He also makes the point, again, very clearly, that overpopulation is not the problem. Instead of resolving the problems of the poor and thinking of how the world can be different, some can only propose a reduction in the birth rate. At times, developing countries face forms of international pressure, which make economic assistance contingent on certain policies of reproductive health. Yet, demographic growth is fully compatible with an integral and shared development. To blame population growth instead of extreme and selective consumerism on the part of some is one way of refusing to face the issues. Again, the focus here is on a truly Catholic approach to the environment. Also, here we have gospel. Gospel is good news to all creation, not just human beings, but to all creation. This is paragraph 118. There can be no renewal of our relationship with nature without a renewal of humanity itself. There can be no ecology without an adequate anthropology. When the human person is considered as simply one being among others, the product of chance or physical determinism, then our overall sense of responsibility wanes. A misguided anthropocentrism need not necessarily yield to biocentrism. Human beings cannot be expected to feel responsibility for the world unless at the same time their unique capacities of knowledge, will, freedom, and responsibility are recognized and valued. The Bible teaches that every man and woman is created out of love and made in God's image and likeness. This shows us the immense dignity of each person who is not just something, but someone. By defending human dignity, Catholics can find in the Christian faith the deepest reasons for this commitment. How wonderful is the certainty that each human life is not adrift in the midst of hopeless chaos in a world ruled by pure chance or endlessly recurring cycles. The Creator can say to each one of us, Catholic and non-Catholic, Christian and non-Christian, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." We were conceived in the heart of God, and for this reason, each of us is the result of a thought of God. Each of us is willed, each of us is loved, each of us is necessary. And the Holy Father makes it clear that the creation of the human person is the key to environmental renewal. Much more could be said, because he says a lot more. It's actually the best theological and biblical summary of, you might say, a theology on the environment that I've ever seen. But listen to this, what I just went over with you. Creation by God. Human beings created in God's image to steward the earth. Abortion destroys our sensitivity to the rest of creation. Overpopulation is not the problem. To solve the ecological problems, we must look at the human person as created in God's image, not just the product of random chaotic forces. And of course, the Church doesn't settle scientific questions. He actually has an entire paragraph addressing that question. So let's fall out of the web of all these arguments about science and economics and politics and really grasp the teaching on faith and morals in the encyclical, and then we can go back and pick up on these prudential debates. I'm Al Kresta. If you go to AveMariaRadio.net, you'll be able to pick up a lot of this material, including the summary by Joe Carter. There's also a great economic analysis by Dr. Sam Gregg of the Acton Institute. Thanks.